the blueprint. Study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So, we're going to do Elimination Chamber 2022 predictions. This is going to be a weird show for me, considering it's going to be on in the middle of the day, and I'm going to be at work. So, I'm likely to see a lot of spoilers before I get home to watch the show. I'm also likely to be very tired when I watch the show. So, it's going to be a rough one. But, there is something on this show that might be pretty interesting. So, let's talk about it. The internet has been promising swerves and twists and turns and all kinds of other stuff. I think that people are going to get their hopes up. I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward show, but it ought to be some stuff on it that ought to be interesting. All right, let's start at the bottom. The Miz Versus Rey Mysterio. This match is just filler. It's a filler match. I don't see this having any WrestleMania implications at all, unless Dominic and Rey get into it at this point. I otherwise don't see any reason for this match to occur, and I just see Rey winning. So, if this doesn't lead to Dominic and Rey splitting up for good, or the beginning of their split up, I don't see this match having any real implications beyond the match itself. All right, tag team match. Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Sonia Deville and Charlotte Flair. So, a little bit of spoilers here. I was told by the internet that there's going to be a stipulation where Ronda Rousey is going to have to wrestle this match with one arm tied behind her back. So it's essentially going to be Naomi and Ronda Rousey with one arm. So it's going to be like half of Ronda Rousey. That ought to make the match a little bit more interesting. But Naomi and Ronda Rousey are still going to win this match. Sonya Deville doesn't need to win. Charlotte also doesn't need to win. Sonya Deville has power. She has authority, so she can make the match unfair and still lose. It's going to be a matter of how do we get Naomi and Sonya to WrestleMania, and considering that's supposed to be the feud, I guess. And I think they have to have some kind of big blow-off match, in which if Sonya loses, she's no longer an authority figure. And that's, to me, is the only way that you can possibly end this feud, because it's the only thing you can put on the line. You can't put Sonya's hair on the line. You can't put Naomi's hair on the line. You can't put, maybe you could put the job on the line. Maybe if, Sonya Deville versus Naomi one more time, and if Naomi loses, she's fired. If she wins, then Sonya Deville has to surrender her middle management position. That's probably the best thing we got going as far as Naomi and Sonya at WrestleMania. That's probably the best idea. So I'm going to go with Naomi and Ronda Rousey to win the match. And and obviously it's going to be Ronda Rousey and Charlotte at WrestleMania. All right, Falls Count Anywhere, Madcap Moss versus Drew McIntyre. All right, just going to go with Drew McIntyre. I have no idea what he's doing at WrestleMania. Hopefully it's not Happy Corbin. Oh my God, bro. I hope it's not Happy Corbin. Some people have suggested and maybe even leaked to the internet that it's probably going to be a celebrity championship match. That's going to be Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. I'm fine with that as long as Johnny Knoxville doesn't win. But I would prefer because there's so many guys who could possibly be the Intercontinental champion. You got Drew McIntyre, you got Corbin, who's never won the title before. You got Sheamus, you got Cesaro, you got Ricochet. There's so many guys who could be in the hunt for that title. I do think it's a waste if they don't elevate the belt by, having a top level guy like Drew McIntyre wrestle with it. To me, him not having a big match at WrestleMania, him being slotted really, really low with Corbin is absolute garbage. It's absolute garbage. And it shows that if you thought Drew fell off a cliff last year when he was wrestling Lashley and lost, what do you think about him now? Considering he's not in the top 5 anymore. I still think he's the top guy to beat Roman. As far as currently guys who are believable and that can beat Roman, I think Drew is probably the top guy in that respect. But they're not looking to beat Roman yet. And until they're looking to beat Roman, Drew's just going to have to trudge through this wave and wave of garbage. And look, ain't no diss on Madcap Moss. You know, he seems to be okay as a worker, but his character is absolutely an abortion. You know, this Madcap Moss character is an abortion. Happy Corbin is absolutely one of the worst things on television every week, and they make time for these guys, and I don't understand it. There's so many other better dudes on the roster who can actually work and play and do characters, but they make sure that Happy Corbin gets his time. It's awful. Absolutely awful. SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Oh yeah, Drew McIntyre is going to win, obviously. SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Viking Raiders versus the Usos. This is another division where we're probably better off switching the belts and putting the belts on the Viking Raiders. But for what purpose? Now, because in this tag team division, you got Big E now. Big E's back in the tag team division. Do you do Viking Raiders New Day at WrestleMania? That doesn't really help Big E. It doesn't help New Day at all to win the tag team titles again. The Usos, what do you do with them at WrestleMania if they're not going to be in the tag team championship match? It's just a mess. You know, there are other tag teams. There's Sheamus and Ridge Holland. There's Corbin and Madcap Moss. They could do like a 14 corner ladder match or something like that. Or something like that to spice up a tag team championship. A tag team championship match at WrestleMania. They could. But will they? Probably not. It'll probably be some just straight up tag team match. And I just don't see it being that interesting. But I think the Viking Raiders are going to win the titles here. I think this is what they were being built up for. Because the Viking Raiders were being protected for a long time. And I thought initially, you know, before I realized that the Brock Lesnar feud was going to continue with Roman, that it would be Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders teaming up to go against Roman and the Bloodline and Roman and the Usos. And I thought that was a nice little teaming up because, you know, they both are two culturally based hero teams. One that walk around with axes and turkey legs, and Drew McIntyre walk around with a sword. But I figured he might need some type of backup to deal with the Usos. But these guys are completely off the beaten path right now. And so I'll go with them winning the titles. I'm going to go with the Viking Raiders winning the belts. I think this might be the only swerve of the night, you know, where, you know, the Viking Raiders will win the tag team championships. And that's it. I don't know what we do after that. And who cares, to be quite honest. Nobody cares about the tag team titles. All right. So the Raw Women's Championship, WWE Hall of Famer Lita versus Becky Lynch. This match is the match I think is most intriguing to me because there is an off chance that Lita wins this match. I don't think so because, you know, we've been talking about it, long-term booking, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. But if there is going to be any type of swerve, this would probably be it. You know, but I don't think so. I think I've also seen the internet say, oh, Lita has no plans after Elimination Chamber. I don't believe that. I think she's at least going to wrestle at WrestleMania too. I think if they got her for Elimination Chamber, they're probably going to slot her in for WrestleMania because there are so many women who need an opponent. You know, there's no reason to send Lita back home, or you can get one or two more matches out of her. The question is going to be, how do you beat Lita in a way where she continues to look believable and gets her out of the way? That's going to be the question, because at that point we're going to be looking at she's wrestling somebody in like a special challenge or something to that effect, which is fine. But she can't get obliterated in this match. She can't get beat 1, 2, 3 clean by Becky Lynch and still be credible to wrestle somebody else at WrestleMania. She has to push Becky to the limit, and Becky has to cheat or do something underhanded in order to win. That way, Lita could be, you know, say, I still got a little bit more left in me, you know, and then somebody else can come out to claim that. And I'm guessing that would be probably Sasha Banks. So, I'm going to go with Becky Lynch winning. I don't think they're going to switch the title. But this ought to be the most interesting match on the card as far as I'm concerned. This looks like it's going to be fun. Lita, I didn't know Lita was 46. You know, but she's up there. But I'm very interested in this because it's the first Lita singles match in forever. So this ought to be very interesting. We ought to have fun with this one. Next one, WWE Hall of Famer Bill Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. This match is going to be short and sweet. It might be 5 minutes maximum. There's no way that Goldberg is going to win. This is the last match of Goldberg's WWE contract. Of course, I expect him to get another one. Especially if they're going to continue doing Saudi shows. He's probably going to get another contract. At this point, though, once you have Roman versus Goldberg, what more do you do with Goldberg? You know, I think you kind of have to use him as a special attraction, but not in a way where he's challenging for titles. I think that's kind of what really kind of bothers a lot of people, is that he can just pop up and challenge for the title. And he's still a great name that you could put in that marquee. And I think that you can move him away from the title picture and still have a great name for the marquee. You know, I think maybe you kind of tease that he's going to have one more match, one final match at WrestleMania. And, you know, you maybe give it to somebody else. But there's no chance in hell of him beating Roman Reigns. I just don't believe it. I think that all these internet stories that are out here trying to trick people into thinking that Goldberg is going to win, it all happened because Goldberg beat Kevin Owens and Goldberg beat The Fiend. But you have to understand storytelling to why Goldberg beat The Fiend and why Goldberg beat Kevin Owens, right? He beat Kevin Owens because he was wrestling Brock Lesnar that year, I believe. And he beat The Fiend because he was supposed to wrestle Roman Reigns that year. He doesn't have such a path to WrestleMania this year. There's no real plan for Goldberg at WrestleMania. There's really nothing for him to do. I did see somebody say, oh, he's going to wrestle Steve Austin. No, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe Steve Austin would even sign up for it. Simply because what are they going to do? You know, like what are they going to do? Is Steve going to take a spear? Because Goldberg at least wants to land a spear. You're gonna put 57-some-odd-year-old Steve Austin in there with like 54-year-old Goldberg. Goldberg is going to spear Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to have to sell it without hurting his neck again. Come on, man. I don't see it. I don't see that happening. So since Goldberg doesn't really have a plan for WrestleMania, he has no reason to win this match. He's just in it because it's Saudi Arabia. So Roman Reigns. The Elimination Chamber for the Raw Women's Championship. Doudrop, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash, Bianca Belair, and Alexa Bliss. Obviously, I think Bianca Belair is going to win. There's an off chance that Alexa Bliss wins and an off chance that Rhea Ripley wins. But those are the only other two options. You know, if for some reason Bianca can't go, then I'll probably go with Alexa Bliss or Rhea Ripley. But I just see Bianca winning the match. You know, so there really is no reason to have any swerves here. There's no reason to try to swerve anybody. This is one of those times where you've done enough swerving and dangling the carrot. It's time to start finally getting to the big picture here. You know, anytime, and people have been talking about this since August. Bianca needs to get that win back on Becky. They've done enough of Becky swerving Bianca and getting out of these matches with her by cheating and everything. It's time to finally do it. Bianca, Becky, and Bianca wins the belt back. That's, if there was any time to not swerve anybody and to take things head on, straight up, that would be it. But I do understand that there's an enticing match between Rhea Ripley and Becky. And because it's never been done before, and because it's new, I can see the appeal of it. Bianca has wrestled Becky twice already, I believe. So there is this chance that they could go with the fresh idea of Rhea Ripley. But I don't think they should swerve people. I think they should just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go with Bianca Belair. So the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Riddle, AJ Styles, and Bobby Lashley. This is also another time where I don't think you need to swerve anybody. I think you need to basically deliver. to be quite honest, I don't see Bobby Lashley wrestling anybody at WrestleMania. Everybody in this match is essentially accounted for. Seth Rollins could still have that match with Kevin Owens. Riddle is going to be in the tag team thing with Randy Orton, probably. Austin Theory has whatever storyline he's been doing with Vince. That has to pay off at WrestleMania. AJ Styles, I've heard he's been pushing to wrestle Edge. Edge hasn't been on TV since the Royal Rumble. So if they're going to do that, they're going to have to build that up quick. You know, they don't. It doesn't need a lot of build up, to be quite honest. It could just be, I want Edge at WrestleMania, and Edge could be like, you know what, it's been a long time coming. I want to fight you too, and then that's it. You know, you don't need to put any extra heat on it. You don't super heat on it. You don't need to. But it would be nice if they did. You know, so since pretty much everybody is accounted for, Brock is going to wrestle Roman whether he wins this match or not. Lashley is the only guy that I'm just kind of like, what is he doing? You know, he's beating everybody on the roster essentially. Could they do Lashley versus Edge? That could be a big match for Lashley. It could be a big match for Edge. And I could definitely see that. You know, Lashley versus Edge at WrestleMania. That could be pretty good. You know, but I would rather have AJ Styles versus Edge. I mean, you know, I would rather have AJ Styles versus Edge. Now, because that mean that AJ Styles wins the title here, and Edge challenges him for WrestleMania. That would be dope. That would be fire. That would be fire indeed. Don't know though, because I'm kind of thinking that the AJ Styles Damian Priest thing is not over, and they're probably going to have one more match. There's just so many people who are unaccounted for at WrestleMania. I mean, my God, it's 2 nights, and we still only have like 1 match announced. You know, like 1 match or 2 matches because Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair is announced. So of course the options are either going to be Brock or Lashley. If I had my choice, it would be Lashley, and I'm going to go with Lashley. But I think the story that they've been telling, they've been yelling at you that it's going to be Brock, and they've been saying it's going to be Brock for like 3 weeks. So I think if you're not an idiot and a mark for Bobby Lashley like I am, you would probably pick Brock. But I'm going to go with Lashley. And I think it's probably going to be some Roman Reigns shenanigans that's going to take out Brock. Maybe the Usos come into the ring at one point, and then Roman himself comes into the ring at one point, and it's all of them together that keeps him down so that Lashley can win. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley. So my choices, if I wasn't clear before, is going to be Rey Mysterio, Ronda Rousey and Naomi, Drew McIntyre, the Viking Raiders, Becky Lynch, Roman Reigns, Bianca Belair, and Bobby Lashley. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.